Hey, gang, it is 2024, and it is a Friday. And you know what that means, Buzz?
I know what that means.
It's the first Facebook Live Friday of the new calendar year. Brian Mild, Lee K. Howard is on assignment, so Dave Baker is doing his thing like always. Lee K. is actually looking for a new car. You know that?
Oh, is this the one that the other one kind of gave up the ghost finally?
So we need to find, if there's someone out there with some ideas, he is going to start a GoFundMe page, I think.
But doesn't his family, like...
Yeah, he's got somebody out in New Mexico.
That owns a car dealership in Clovis.
Clovis. That's where I go to do my shopping. Clovis.
Get your cars in Clovis.
It's great to be back. It's been a couple of weeks.
Yes, it has.
Since we last broke bread together on Facebook Live, and a lot has gone on. The football season, UK football season's over. UK basketball starts this weekend, the SEC portion of the schedule. It's always, for me, from Thanksgiving to New Year's, it's the busiest 5 to 6 weeks of the calendar year because you have to mix in time off, holidays, football, basketball, travel, things in between. So, how was your holiday season?
Outstanding. And yourself?
Merry New Year. Very good. Very good.
You know, you're right. It's a little different from a basketball standpoint. I don't know where you want to start, but this is the second straight 8-day break that Kentucky is coming off of before they played. They had 8 days off after they beat Louisville, before they beat Illinois State, and now it's been another 8 days by the time they tip at 12:30 tomorrow before they play Florida. And they've kind of flipped some things around with the conference schedule. I was just looking at some Florida notes. This is the first time in, is that right? It's the first time in 25 years that Kentucky and Florida have opened up the SEC
Game 1
schedule, and it's the first time in 45 years that they've done so in Gainesville. They say that the O-Dome is a sellout, but listen.
It doesn't take a lot to sell out that building, though.
Afternoon in Florida, I mean, you know,
on a Saturday,
and the students aren't back yet. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So you won't have the rowdy reptiles there unless they just come to hang out, which is possible.
You know, Mike Pratt would always talk about Alligator Alley.
Oh my God, he loved Alligator Alley.
Yeah, he did, and he mentioned it constantly. And today we got to talk with some of the kids, Trey Mitchell and DJ Wagner, about starting the season, the SEC season, and what the last month, 5 weeks have been like, because it's been game, nothing for a while, practice, game, and then another week off. And I'm sure they're pretty excited to get back out there and get some normality to them because it's been 5 games in 5 weeks, and now you're going to get 8 games, and tomorrow's the 6th, if my math is correct. So from the 6th to like the 28th, you've got 8 games.
Yeah, you get 2 a week. So they come back. They've got Florida tomorrow afternoon. Then they're back home against Missouri on Tuesday night, and then over the weekend they're at A&M, and then you got a couple at home with Mississippi State and Georgia. So you get into that regular rotation. Players like that. Coaches like that as long as they're playing well.
Media likes that.
Right. Lenardi, you know, for whatever you want to think about him, his latest bracketology came out, and Kentucky is back up on the 2nd seed line. And, of course, Cal has always said that's where you want to be, either number 1 or number 2. And they're just playing really good basketball right now, and you hope that break helps and didn't hurt.
Yeah, you know, UK has only had a couple of what you would consider those games you would see in March. Obviously playing Kansas and Carolina. And it wasn't that long ago when Kentucky was, they're a 6 seed. Like then they beat Louisville, beat Illinois State, and hey, they're a 2 seed. Yeah, we kind of all knew they had a hiccup against Wilmington, but yeah, whatever. This is a heck of a ball club. Quickly, want to say hello to those in Clark County and London who are watching.
Let's go.
And you know, we have high school basketball picks up for real again. We've got the holiday tournaments are out of the way, and so now we really earn our paycheck for the next 3 months. We really get into it. And for this basketball team, UK basketball. They still don't have Big Z. You know, he's back from an extended Christmas holiday break.
They do that over in Europe.
Yeah, they do. They really party over there, if you know what I mean. And but you know, this team has so much potential. They have shown what they can do in great quantities. Now I can't wait to see what it's like to go on the road and get into the grind, because it's easier to play, I think, in a neutral setting.
Oh, yeah.
then you
absolutely.
go to
Sure.
Gainesville, you go to, Mississippi State.
Because very rarely is Kentucky outnumbered from a fan standpoint in a neutral setting.
They will be this week.
Yeah, but not in a neutral setting. The thing I think, Brian, is that this team has it. They have it collectively and they have it individually. And for people that haven't heard it, I'm sure many of you have, but Cal telling us a story last week about Edwards, who, got up 3,400 shots, right? During the Christmas break?
Yeah, Antonio had 1,300 in one day.
Edwards had 3,400 shots. For those of you who haven't been over to the practice facility, they've put in this thing, it's an NBA thing, and it's kind of like artificial intelligence, and I'll tell you what it's like. It's like those flock cameras that can get your license number when you go through a toll without paying or something. I mean, seriously, they've got it dialed in where they've got cameras all over the Kraft Center, and when you're on the court, they can see every place you are, and they can automatically chart those shots. And the dude got 3,400 shots up when he stayed here for Christmas.
Could you imagine how many pencils Harry Lancaster and Adolph Rupp would have got?
But you're an athlete. I mean, think about when you
very much former.
When you want to get in extra BP, just how good a shape you have to be in to not only get that many swings or get up that many shots, but really perform and execute them.
Well, Pete Rose used to say when he would go to spring training, your hands, because you haven't swung a bat, you haven't picked up baseballs, you're soft. They're off his hands. He would go to spring training and take so much BP, he would form calluses, tear the calluses, and then let the healing process, so he'd have rough hands for the next 6 months of the season. And basketball, I mean, you think about the little cuts you may get on your skin from doing that over and over and over. My gosh, it's the physicality it takes just to do that. And the mental approach to be able to say, I'm going to get 500 here, 500, 500. We're not doing 100 here. We're not doing 50. You want to get great at something, you do that exactly what they've done. And Antonio, he's had a nice little run so far, coming off another 27-point game against Illinois State. Hello to Prestonsburg and Garner, Floyd County, one of my favorite, if not one of the top. It's one of my top 3 favorite counties in the Commonwealth. So hello out there to everyone in Floyd County. The last time was I here? Yeah, we had a show the week following my trip to Wayland.
Right. Yes, that's right. For the thing.
And if you have not seen it, folks, go out and find a copy of the Cat's Paws that Daryl Bird put together, that shows Travis Perry in front of the King Kelly Coleman statue, and it says Wayland Gem, G-E-M.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, Daryl Bird is so good. It's worth the $4 or $5, $6, whatever it is to buy that magazine. You need to check that out. But it has been for the Cats, for the basketball Wildcats. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in a place that's going to be an oven. It's going to be about 8,000 strong, maybe, if it's a sellout. Maybe. And we start for real now. The first 11, 12 games, I don't really put a lot of stock into it, except how you're playing. I don't care if you win or lose. That's not our job to care. But we're going to see what this basketball team is made of. Quickly,
Florida comes in, by the way, with a 5-game winning streak, which is their longest in several years.
In a minute. It's been a minute.
Yes,
how about the UK women last night? I don't know if you watched that game or not, but Asia Petty is turning. I mean, she's going King Richard here for Richard Petty. She's letting it go, and 22 points, 19 rebounds, a much needed win for the UK women. They're 1-0 in SEC play. Morehead State is rolling. EKU got a big win last night, and so the state, and right in the heart of the KYT coverage area, the Transy women, I think, have won 45 in a row now.
Longest streak of the nation.
How do you win 45 in a row? You are the undefeated defending national champions, and you're ranked second in the country. I don't know how that works. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Coaches vote.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you something. Is this a good time for an old story? So, in what was called the coaches poll, there was somebody at one point in time who was here as a head coach, and you voted on those teams. He was a voting member.
Right.
You voted on those teams 1 through 16. So you could only vote on 16. And so this particular coach put a particular team who was never outside of the top 5, wrote him in at 16, the very first vote he made every week.
Wow. Just because.
Just because. I'm just saying.
Would you like to enlighten us as to who,
No.
what era that was?
No. It was after the Peach Basket
Wow, that narrows it down.
and before the new technology over the Joe Kraft Center.
Wow.
There you go.
Boy, nice job.
Thank you.
What do you think when you see Kentucky basketball?
Mm-hmm.
I see Reed Shepherd, and we have seen it for the last 2 years. For those of us who got to see him in London, Lexington, places in between, are you surprised? The nation is surprised at what Reed has been able to accomplish.
Listen, here's the thing. He was just the latest schoolboy phenom who came from Kentucky. I mean, he's really good. He's really talented. He's got all those things you want a great player to have. He does not have the crazy athleticism of Rex Chapman, right?
He's in the ballpark sometimes.
Sometimes. But I mean, he can't, I don't think he can explosively jump like Rex can and things like that. But that remains to be seen. And of course, anyway, I think there were a lot of people that tried to discount him because, this is just Cal just did this to keep the fans happy and because of Jeff and Stacy. But I was looking, and I don't think I've shown you this. So Andy Katz is top freshman yesterday. He's got Dillingham 1, Shepherd 2, and DJ 9. I mean, that's pretty good. But this kid just, whenever and here's the other thing, the overall big picture I would give you. People talked about the media and their coverage of Kentucky basketball for a long time. I would submit to you all that we don't have people like standing out there outside the Joe Kraft Center looking for stuff to stir up, right? Whenever something's going on, it always has its way of finding its way to us.
Sure.
Right? And so if something is going on, it's going to get out. There has not been the slightest hint of any jealousy or any sort of back and forth at a practice, or this person is frustrated. Always before it was, this doesn't happen, is so-and-so going to transfer at the break? And I mean, these guys are not only working their tail off individually, but they are a really, they could, by the end of the season, I think, be one of those one-of-a-kind collective units that, they may not prove to be as talented as, say, that 96 team, but together they've got the ability to do something really special.
That 96 team, the 38-1 team, those teams were a huge collective.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and not just NBA talent. I'm not talking about just the guys that went on to the NBA, but you had depth. You had ridiculous amount. Hey, you want a platoon? Sure. 5 out, 5 in. Wow. And you still have a Dominique Hawkins coming in off the bench who is pretty darn serviceable. This team doesn't have that kind of depth. They don't have, at least at the moment, the kind of talent that the 96 team has. But it doesn't matter how you get to 100. You can have 5 pieces that get you to 100. You can have 10 pieces that get you to 100, as long as you hit that goal. And this team, I mean, they're in the mid-90s right now. I think if you went from 0 to 100, this team, and they're still not complete.
I can't remember who I was watching the other night. I want to say it was a Big East game or maybe an ACC game. There were 2 teams that were playing that couldn't hit 100 together if nobody was playing defense. I mean, honestly, I turned the game off because it was really bad basketball. But the other thing about it is too, you see people out in the community with social media and everything. You see all kinds of shots. I have yet to see my first shot of somebody on this team pouting.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Or the least little.
The body language stinks.
Yes. Imitation that something is wrong or they're not happy.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are standing up and they're cheering for each other. They genuinely like each other. It's just, and coaches say this all the time, and I think people, kind of just put it aside as coach speak, but it's like what Nick Saban said after they lost to Michigan. He said, that while they came up short and everything, that he enjoyed this team maybe more than any other that he had because they had come so far during the season.
Oh, they did. They were not good.
No, they were not good. They were not good. And they were just a whisker away from playing for the championship on Monday night.
Did you watch the semifinals, both games?
I did not watch both games. I watched the Michigan-Alabama game.
Holy cow. It was unbelievable. And this is why, for those who are proponents of the bracket, the tournament, if you will, it was phenomenal football. It was
really good.
The first game was old school. How Michigan won, I really don't know, because I thought Alabama was going to win. Certainly in the middle of the fourth quarter, you thought, Michigan can't move the ball from me to you. They're not going to go from here to Winchester Road and do it.
All right.
And they somehow did it. Then the Washington-Texas game was highly entertaining. And I thought, and got a little feedback, not of the good kind, on social media, I thought, with Michigan and Washington in the finals, it's good for college football, because if LSU, Georgia, Alabama go year after year after year after year after year after year, as they have, then you could sprinkle in Auburn from within the last 2 decades. It's just like,
and think about the changing landscape of college football. Michigan and Washington will play each other during the regular season next year as members of the Big Ten.
How about that? Washington has not won a national title since '91. Michigan has not won.
Was that Don James?
Yeah, attaboy. Michigan has not won since Brian Griese was the quarterback.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was the '97 season, the '98 bowl game, I believe. They haven't won in a quarter of a century. Why? And I think this bodes well for college football. So people were like, how do you like Harbaugh? He's a cheater. It's not about Harbaugh. It's about getting new faces in there, because if you see the same old faces and the SEC dominates it all the time, I think that's one reason why you've seen so much movement.
Maybe more about Connor Stallions than it is
possibly
Harbaugh. Did you see him post that picture? He was at the game.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad look. But, I mean,
if your last name's Stallions, you're going to do whatever you want.
Or Megan the Stallion. But whatever happens. But I just don't think there's any way that Harbaugh's back next year. I mean, looks like the Chargers job is picking up a lot of steam. He was suspended for 6 games this year. They've still got NCAA stuff looking at him.
I don't even know. What can the NCAA, this is a different type of a situation with it's like the Astros banging on the trash can. Type of a
but
deal.
That manager still got held accountable for it, right?
Sure.
And the GM.
And could you imagine Harbaugh goes through all of this that he's gone through and then wins the national title and then leaves, and Michigan and Ohio State goes right back to where they were for the better part of the last 15 to 20 years.
I could see that happening to Michigan. I'm still not sure that would lead to an ascent by Ohio State. They've got some internal things to work out, and they've got to get more explosive on offense. But listen, Harbaugh's the exact kind of guy that would ride off in a sunset like that. I'm going to stop now.
Yeah, there you go. So college football, the national championship, I believe, is this Monday night.
Yep.
Washington and Michigan. 2 names that you probably did not have on your college football bingo board at the start of the year. And high school basketball picks up again, as I mentioned. The first media poll came out yesterday. Great Crossing is number 1 on the boys' side with Lyon County and Travis Perry and Brady Shoulders and Jack Reddick and all those guys. They're number 2, just a couple of points behind. Lexington Catholic is 3. The girls, GRC, is 2 behind the 83-time defending state champion Sacred Heart. They've been running the roost for the last 3 years, and so there's a lot of great basketball that picks up. We officially, I guess, can say from right now, we start the road to Rupp Arena for the Sweet 16. And for college basketball, we start the road to the Final Four. We're in the gate. And then, we've got, 2 months, and then we get down to business. And that 2 months is going to fly by. So thank you for joining us today. We're going to get upstairs, get back to work. And some of us are going to try to see what we type, and some of us are just going to try to see. And 4. And that'll do it for Facebook Live Friday. I'm Brian Milam. That is Dave Baker. We will do this all over again next Friday. See you then.